Welcome to More Than a Lawyer with your host, attorney Christy Crow. This is a podcast that highlights the amazing acts of service that lawyers perform all over the country. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, www.jinxcrow.com. Now here's the host of More Than a Lawyer, Christy Crow.
Welcome back to More Than a Lawyer. We're so glad to have with us today Liz Stryker. Liz is a friend of mine who I've gotten to know over the last few years because she is an amazing lawyer in West Virginia who knows more about ESI than I ever will. And for those of you that don't even know what ESI stands for, I'll let Liz explain more about what she does inside the courtroom and inside her everyday job before we start talking about her outside things. Welcome to More Than a Lawyer, Liz. We're so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about what you do. I know you practice in West Virginia, but around the country. And so what do you do at Bailey Glasser? And tell us a little bit about your firm.
Yeah, so Bailey Glasser is a pretty different firm from a lot of others. We do both plaintiff and defense work, so that keeps us on our toes on a pretty regular basis. In my practice, I also do plaintiff and defense work. And like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, I am an ESI lawyer. So I support the entire firm along with my team for electronically stored information discovery, which is what ESI stands for. So we do a lot of, protocols. We fight about privileges. We do a lot of discovery kind of work. And basically, our goal is to discover cases to get them ready for trial. And then I'm also a trial attorney, and I support cases all across the country on that front as well.
Yeah, and so that's how we got to know each other, actually, is we had a couple of medical device cases that we've been working on together through the years. And it's been amazing to me to learn from you and your team about ESI and how important that is in litigation in the 21st century. You know, it's not like back in the day when I started practicing law, not when you started practicing law, but when I started practicing law, everything would come in on paper. If a defendant wanted to bury something in a million pieces of paper, they would put you in a warehouse and you have to go through all these boxes and look through all the pieces of paper before you could find it. So that is a whole nother podcast that we could probably give about ESI and how it's made things easier sometimes, but also makes things a lot more complicated, which is the reason firms like yours have an ESI department.
Absolutely. Yeah, even red card, blue card cases are different from when I first started. Now it's all about social media and technology and all that stuff.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, we could talk about ESI and how that works in cases all day, but we're really here today to talk about what you do outside of your 9 to 5 or 8 to 8 job. So tell us a little bit about ABA Law Day and how you got involved with that and what ABA Law Day is.
Yeah, so ABA Law Day is a program that the ABA puts on every year. Every year they have a theme, and it's kind of intended to, increase classroom awareness of the ABA, different legal themes, and things like that. I got involved with ABA Law Day through the West Virginia Women in the Profession Committee of our West Virginia State Bar. I, along with a circuit court judge in our case, Judge Bridget Cohey, started an education subcommittee of that Women in the Profession Committee. And our goal was really to try to inspire school children across West Virginia, to go into careers involving the law, maybe not being a lawyer, necessarily, and also, kind of increasing civics education in West Virginia because that's something that's very important to both of us. And we just think that it's a good way to expose students to themes like democracy, women's suffrage, and other things that are just really important to our democracy and, continuing to have a healthy society.
Definitely. And one of the things that is funny but sad that we all see these clips on TikTok or whatever social media you might be on, of people asking some basic questions about civics education, like the three branches of government. And it's remarkable how many adults don't have basic civics education. So it's great that you're starting in the classroom when kids are kind of captive and have to listen to you, but it's also good because you could spark an interest and maybe get them interested in the law. So when generally is the ABA Law Day, and when do y'all start planning this?
So ABA Law Day is every year on May 1st. And we start our planning process. I mean, we're getting kicked off like in the next couple of weeks for our 2025, which will be our 5th year running this contest in West Virginia. We send out our packets in the beginning of January, and then the teachers and the students work on their projects, get them to us about in March, and then we grade the projects, and we do a nice presentation of awards with our state Supreme Court on May 1st.
That's so cool. So give us an idea of what kind of projects that you send out to the kids to do, and what age groups do you target?
Sure. So the children can give us contest submissions in the form of an essay, a song, a poem, art pieces. We've started doing digital artwork. That's new for the last couple of years. Students can create posters about the theme. And so it's a really eclectic mix of how the students want to engage in with the material. And we've seen some really creative things over the years. Like one of our best in shows last year was a song that a student got to present to our Supreme Court, which was really, really special.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so it's just a really fun way. It's open to all age groups. We do K through 12. We always have really fun entries from the elementary students, and then middle school and high school. It's really incredible to see the depth of analysis that some of these students really present to us, and their artistic abilities as well.
So do they all compete against each other, or do you have age groups like K through second grade is in one age group? And tell us how that works.
Yeah, so we do elementary, middle, and high school. So our K through 5 is our elementary, 6 through 8 is middle, and then 9 through 12 is our high school. And so we get a lot of engagement across the board, but really the age group we see the most engagement with is actually the middle schoolers. We've had a lot of good turnout over the years and really great entries from them.
Do you know what this year's ABA theme is going to be yet?
No, we don't know yet, but I think there's an announcement coming soon. But last year we did like the cornerstones of democracy, and we've done various themes throughout the years.
So you mentioned a song that was one of your interesting and best in show winners. What other projects stand out over the last 5 years as things that really inspired you and you thought might inspire other kids to get interested in civics education?
So there was a poster for our first year that we had the contest, and that was the theme was women's suffrage, because it was right around the 100th year anniversary of women's suffrage in the United States. And I just remember this poster of Lady Liberty and a couple of the really strong female leaders from the women's suffrage movement just in this poster. And it was really incredible to see that kind of engagement and that artistic expression for a theme that, you could really do just about anything with. And I think that helping kids engage with civic subject matter in a different or more creative way can really help, instill those values and keep them thinking about them throughout the rest of their lives. It's different when you read something in a textbook as compared to creating an original work of art or a song or a poem about really what the meaning of the civics theme is.
That's great. If a teacher in West Virginia wants to participate in the program that y'all are participating in or heading up, how would they let you know that they want to get the submission materials?
So we are really proactive in sending out the materials. We try to hit just about every principal and social studies teacher in the state. But if there are other teachers that are interested, our materials are on the West Virginia State Bar website, or they can always contact me or another member of the subcommittee, and we'd be happy to get them a packet. I always am kind of annoying on my Facebook around the time when packet release happens and when we need submissions back, just because I want to try to encourage as many students as possible to get involved.
Sure. And if somebody's watching this from a different state and they're interested in doing something like this for the ABA day or law day, how would, like, can you share your materials? Is that something they get from the ABA website? Do you modify the ABA website materials? Just tell us how that works.
Yeah, so we just kind of run with the theme from the ABA website, and then that's sort of the materials that are submitted to the teachers. I believe we also circulate, we've created like a grading rubric. So we let the teachers know, what their students might be graded on in terms of, presentation, grammar, if it's like an essay. So everybody has those kind of materials. So I would definitely be willing to share with another state or whoever wants to get involved with ABA Law Day and starting this contest for their students.
It's a great program. I know we've done it through our state bar, and we did a lawyer in every classroom program too, just trying to raise civics awareness. And so it's great that y'all are doing that. And the fact that you are getting it out to every principal and social studies teacher in the state is remarkable. I cannot imagine how much work that is.
Yeah,
So I know the ABA Law Day program is not the only thing you do outside of work. Tell us about some of the other things that you're involved in your community related to your volunteer work and other things you're doing.
Yeah, so I am frequently found on random evenings during the school year with my husband up at the WVU College of Law. We like to volunteer up there to help mentor young law students. We help out with moot court, law review, trial advocacy programs, just to try to get students some real world experience and some feedback from real trial attorneys. And I think that's been really helpful, and the students have really enjoyed that. And we definitely get a lot out of it. So that's something that I really like to do. I also like to, volunteer in my community. I'm involved in Lawyers for Lucas. I ran that race last year, where a lawyer in the community has started a 5K for remote mobile lung cancer screening in rural West Virginia. And so I think that's something that's really important. So I liked being able to, give back in that way, even though I was running a very slow race. It's
Yeah,
still,
it's
still got
not
out
the
there.
time that you finish in that matters. It's being there. That's what I keep telling myself as I come in last.
Yes,
I always like it when I move up to a different age group, because then I can be the youngest in another age group and be more competitive.
exactly.
There are benefits to getting old.
Yes.
So what made you decide to get interested in the lawyers for lupus? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Shannon Smith, who's actually the president of our state bar in West Virginia, is a good colleague of mine. She's at another law firm here in Morgantown, West Virginia, and she's a cancer survivor. So for her, I think it's kind of a passion project. She's very invested in the success of the program, and I wanted to support her. And also, making sure that we have access to healthcare in rural West Virginia is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I feel like, as a state, we kind of don't have access to, a lot of resources all the time, especially in rural areas. So being able to have that kind of excellent healthcare provided to individuals in rural counties is really important.
That's great. And we see lawyers on boards, we see them volunteering. Sometimes it's legal related things, and sometimes it's not. Like, even that's lawyers for lupus is really not related to the practice of law. Why do you think lawyers volunteer so much in their communities?
I think it's because as a profession, we are called to serve others. That's the bedrock of our profession. We are called to advocate to be voices for the voiceless, and that's something that's very important to me in my practice, and that's how I try to live my life. To try to give back to the community because we have this education and these abilities to, be advocates and know all of these things, that we have a duty as lawyers to give back. make sure that our communities are strengthened and, not just ourselves.
I know we've talked a lot about what you do inside your day-to-day work. What does your firm do to help encourage you or support you in your volunteer activity?
I mean, the firm is very supportive of community activism. We're very involved in West Virginia. We help sponsor like Mountain Stage, which is a concert that's put on pretty regularly to highlight Appalachian musicians and people from around the country, and that's held in the Culture Center. We are regularly involved in our community in Charleston, West Virginia, to try to, help make it a more fun and vibrant place to live. So I feel really supported by my firm in, volunteering and doing these things because it's something that comes from the top down. And also they help try to get the word out for some of these things that we're involved in. So we get a lot of support.
If someone's watching this and wondering how to encourage their own people in their own firm to either create programs and opportunities for their employees to volunteer, or if they're an employee and are trying to get their firm to be more engaged in volunteer activities, what would you recommend?
I think just having those conversations, maybe not starting with the top leadership of your firm if you're trying to get something started and you're maybe an associate or you're just starting out, talking to other associates or your supervisors, trying to get that kind of momentum going before you can have the firm kind of be involved as a whole. I think that that's good. I also would just encourage people to kind of go for the opportunities that they see. Like the Women in the Profession Committee was created during the pandemic, and it's something that I felt passionate about back then. So I just kind of dove in with both feet, and we've built it into the program that we have today. So I think just getting started is just a really important first step. It seems really simple, but I think that that's, the best way to start any kind of change.
Amen. What's the saying? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So
Yes.
taking that first step is great. And even if you have to do it after hours or on your own time, I think once firms see the positive effect it has in the morale at the firm and in client relations, that they end up supporting it too.
Absolutely. And I mean, in terms of getting students involved and maybe inspiring them to go to law school, it helps build our pipeline of good lawyers for coming forward, and also just good advocates in our community.
No doubt about it. Well, Liz, this being the More Than a Lawyer podcast, what does being more than a lawyer mean to you?
I think being more than a lawyer is just kind of being a real person in addition to being a lawyer. I think a lot of times in law, we can get very stressed and kind of have these internal battles about like our caseload and things that are going on. But I think being more than a lawyer is being a healthy, holistic person, being involved in your community, taking care of yourself, spending time with your family. It's just kind of, remembering that there are other parts of life outside of the 9 to 5.
No doubt about it. Well, Liz Stryker, thank you so much for joining us today on More Than a Lawyer. We appreciate all you do for your clients, but we also appreciate all you do for your community. And we'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you.
You've been tuning into More Than a Lawyer with your host, attorney Christy Crow. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, www.jinxcrow.com. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.